and live.
Awesome. Thank you, Sawyer. Welcome back, everybody. I'm glad to see you all back here. This is going to be a really fun session. As most or all of you know, we had a really big stride at the end of last year with the signing of PR Mod. And so that means that there's a lot more money flowing into R3 and a lot more projects that can be funded with that money. So we thought this would be a great time and platform to give you guys just a kind of sneak peek of some of the projects that are going to be going on using that grant money. So first up, we have Tanaya Bethke. She's from South Dakota, and she's representing the Midwest Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies today. Take it away, Tanaya.
Good afternoon from South Dakota. You're in my kitchen. It's a joy to be here today, and I'm so glad to have this group of people together to gain momentum and share reflections in the middle of such an important time in history. I want to talk to you a little bit about the MAFWA R3 Committee's R3 Multistate Grant. We ended up doing a small game diversity and inclusion outreach toolkit grant, and we were approved, and we're moving ahead with that process right now. Funds are becoming available at the beginning of September, and we're already working on an RFP process to find a marketing firm to help us with this toolkit. So first I want to talk a little bit about the need we're hoping to meet with this toolkit. Anybody that's in the Midwest region understands that small game plays a critical role in our fiscal stability, and unlimited licensing opportunities are where we have the largest potential return on investment. And so we're hoping to really focus in on small game, and we're woefully short on imagery, especially in small game, of women, people of color, let alone people with disabilities or folks that lead alternative lifestyles. And so with that need, this group got together, started writing a plan, and kind of started partnering with some really great organizations to be able to move ahead with the initiative. So some of our partners with that are Pheasants Forever, they signed on, Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, National Wild Turkey Federation, and we pulled in DJ Case and Associates. Like I mentioned before, we're in an RFP process to identify our marketing firm. And we are looking for more partners if you're interested in being a part of this and are a part of the Midwest region. So I'll talk a little bit more about what that means at the end. But if you do want to reach out to me, I've put my email address over in the comments box. So please send me your information. So the first step that we're working on right now is identifying the top 3 to 5 target markets in the Midwest region to reach out to. And so if you are part of that region, you've gotten an email from Megan Weiscup asking for your input on not only the top 3 to 5 populations that you're trying to reach with your programs, but the populations that specifically you're lacking outreach materials for. I've reached out to our partner group, and once we hire on a marketing firm, we'll be using the best market research to also identify and highlight the biggest populations we want to reach out to. As you can imagine, it's probably going to be a whole lot of women, people of color, for example, and then we hope to throw in a few more representative images as much as we can throughout the entire photo shoot. So what is in the toolkit? What do we want to create? First and foremost, we want to create resources that are editable and available to everyone. This is a need we all have, and so I don't know why we would cut anybody out of that. So we're going to be creating photo resources through 3 to 5 photo shoots across landscapes that are representative of our region, and making sure we're being inclusive of small game species and regulations that are the most applicable across the region that we can find. We're also creating social media resources and email templates to reach out to each of those 3 to 5 audiences. All of the print resources are going to be available in Spanish and English to make them more linguistically accessible, which is huge right now. I saw that going on in the chat box earlier. And then we're also developing an implementation guide with some of the best practices for how to create a campaign, how to measure the return on investment, how to see if it's effective. I think one of the pieces I'm most excited about with this toolkit is that we are using DJ Case and Associates to pull together a bunch of focus groups that represent the populations we're trying to reach. So instead of a bunch of Caucasian folks sitting around telling other Caucasian folks what we think people of color need or want to get involved in small game hunting or even feeling comfortable engaging with our agencies, we're going to actually reach out to those populations and ask if our messages resonate with them, if the imagery that we have is attractive and engaging, and makes them feel included and comfortable with our agencies and organizations. So that's pretty exciting to me. That toolkit, once it's vetted, we'll have this kind of cream of the crop resource that'll be compiled into a toolkit centrally located on the clearinghouse, and anybody will be able to download it that wants to. We hope to apply for round 2 of the R3 multi-state grants for implementation and the evaluation of that toolkit. We'd love to help states create big marketing campaigns and see how they perform. If you'd like to be a partner, what we're looking for from partners who want to jump on would be to provide a minimum of $4,500 in cash or in-kind match. And with that, you'll be given credit on the creation of the toolkit once it's published. So your name will go on being part of the forward momentum that we're gaining right now, somebody that cares a lot about diversity and inclusion in what we do. You'll have an opportunity as a partner to aid in the selection of the marketing firm, to identify our target markets and to develop the photo lists, and then also select the locations for the photo shoots. We're asking that partners provide boots on the ground support for those photo shoots. So that's kind of the big picture there. I'm the main point of contact for this project, and I cannot tell you how excited I am that we have funding available to do this. So if you're interested and you want to hop on and you want to spend an unreasonable amount of time with me and this group, feel free to send me an email. With that, I'd like to open it up to any questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Tanaya. That was a great run through. We do have one question from Gordon Batchelor. He wants to know, will the Midwest Project engage any of the tribal communities?
So we're looking at the biggest, kind of the biggest barriers to participation for the populations that live in the Midwest. And so, you know, we're looking at the largest populations in the top 3 to 5 list, right? So obviously we've got larger communities of Hispanic and larger communities of Black folks that live in our community, that live in our area. If we are able to find models that have gone through programs in our member states that are willing to be part of this photo shoot, absolutely, we would love to engage our Native American populations. Same thing with the Hmong population. I mean, there are a lot of, I think, a lot of opportunities we could seize based on the models that we're able to find.
Awesome. The next question is from Jennifer Wisniewski. She wants to know if this is just the MAFWA states or if there are plans to expand this to other states too.
Great question. Thanks, Jaywiz. Right now, it is a project being housed within MAFWA and with direct benefits to the MAFWA states. So at this time, it's within this region with consideration of species and populations for this region. I think there's room in round 2 of our 3 multi-state grants to be able to expand this much more broadly. And to be clear, these resources are going to be available to anyone. So let's say Hawaii wants to throw down some dove photos that we've got, they're welcome to it.
Awesome. And one last question from Alex Heiser. What is your launch date for this project?
So, I mean, we're starting now. We're hoping to have all of our partners identified by the end of this year, calendar year. And then the resources will be launched at, so I would, a year from now, next summer.
Awesome. Great. Thanks so much, Tanaya. We appreciate you being here with us, and we're excited to hear about your small game project.
Great. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Awesome. So next we have Miss Jennifer Wisniewski, hailing from Tennessee. She is here on behalf of the Association for Conservation Information, and she is going to be telling you about some awesome communications things they are going to be doing with their multi-state grant. Hi, Jen. How are you?
Hi, great. I'm joining you from a McDonald's parking lot because I'm in an internet desert. So sorry I'm in my car, but super excited to talk about this new R3 money that ACI was able to get, the ACI Association for Conservation Information, and I'm lucky enough to get to serve as president currently. And so we were able to put in for, let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So we put in for a grant to basically be catalyst in getting states money to do R3 marketing work. So ACI is going to give 4 states $50,000 to do marketing work. Yay! So go to the next slide, please. Oh, go back a slide. There's a slide in between there. Nope, there's a slide in between that one and the next one. Nope. Okay. It should have had animations on the slide. I'll just read it off of mine. So what these projects might look like. It may be, they're all your ideas. So you may want to do social influencer marketing. You may want to do marketing strategies for churn rate control. You may want to do a social media marketing campaign. You may want to build something to take a target shooter to a hunter via marketing and how to do that. It may be geofencing or other targeting techniques. Basically, the more innovative and replicable your projects are, and the more measurable they are, that'll be the better. So, next slide. So the timeline is this. We get the asking for proposals in September. So start thinking, what would you do if you had $50,000 to put marketing on the ground? And what project would you want to do? So we'll be taking those proposals through ACI, and then late September we'll announce what 4 states, one from each AFL region, would receive the $50,000. And then October through January, you'll get to put your effort on the ground. So you can implement your park project and complete all that. And then January, we'll do case studies and share those throughout the R3 community with the interagency working group, through AFWA, EOG committee, and through ACI. So it's a short timeline. It's, you know, kind of a easy sell. And next slide. And oh shucks, animations aren't working on this. So we are making this money easy for states to take. So we can pay a state agency this money. We can write a check directly to a marketing firm. So a state doesn't need to go through an RFP process to get a marketing firm on board. We can pay a foundation. We can pay a license vendor. We can pay whomever, so that you're not having to expand your budget or do whatever to try to make this as easy as possible for any state to take advantage of. And next slide. So goals. So we are really wanting to be able to use these projects to replicate in many states. And then, you know, something that not every multi-state grant can show is a direct return on investment. So with these funds, we'll get to show a direct return on investment of R3 being accomplished for hunters and target shooters. And you know, at the end of the day, I really want to encourage states that aren't investing in marketing to start to invest in marketing, and also raise the profile of how effective marketing can be on accomplishing R3. And lastly, you know, ACI, you can go slide, one more slide. So lastly, I want to encourage everyone to be involved with ACI. The Association for Conservation Information is a wonderful group, and it will assist you in communications, and all jobs are improved with good communications, no matter what your position is. And ACI and R3 go together like peas and carrots. So your marketing and communications people need to be woven into R3 at every turn that they get. And this multi-state grant is only one of several opportunities that ACI has to give you money to do good marketing and communication. So this was one of 3 multi-state grants this year, and we're halfway through the approval process for a couple of more projects very similar to this next year. So I really encourage you to be involved in ACI. And you can do that at the website. You can sign up for the Balance Wheel newsletter. You can follow ACI on Facebook, and you can email me directly, and I'd be glad to talk to you if you have ideas for this project. Now that, I'll take questions.
Great, thank you. That is an awesome project. Mostly everybody is just fawning over what a great opportunity this is. So that's excellent. Glad you got to share today. Gina Hunt wants to know, is there an email with the info on this ACI grant? And Gina, I think that would just be Jen's email. It's in the slide, but if you can't see it, we will, oh, Samantha just put it in the chat box. So feel free. Dan Forster has a question. Can you pick me up a Happy Meal? Seems reasonable. You're pretty close. Awesome. Well, it looks like people are more excited than having questions, which means you must have done a very thorough job on your presentation. So great. Jen, thank you so much. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Excellent. So next up, we have Charles Swanee Evans. He's from the Georgia Wildlife Federation, and he is going to be talking about scaling college R3 models. I guess Swanee's going to make us wait for it. All good things are worth waiting for, right? So I know that there are college models out there. Particularly, I think Clemson had one running, and there are a couple studies out there. And these are interesting. And some things that come up with college models is that often people come from out of state. And so how do we either keep them in the state where they went to college so we can keep those license sales, or how do we track them as they move from state to state? So these are some questions that are kind of out there floating around, something for you to kind of mull over while we wait for Swanee to appear, or Charles, whatever you want to call him. He's a man of many names. So, sorry, I'm reading the chat box. I would like to know if you are here, could you put in the chat box if you participated in a college R3 or recruitment hunting type participation, or sorry, program? That would be interesting to know. So here we have Swanee. Thanks for joining us. And you may take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Kristen. All right. So I'm Charles Evans. I also go by Swanee. I work for the Georgia Wildlife Federation. I'm in a cooperative position that's also supported by QDMA, SCI, NWTF, and Georgia DNR. So we're going to do a quick run through of the multi-state grant that we put in for that is titled Scaling a College-Focused R3 Model. Mainly, we're going to focus on the background for this model. So the model kind of started out as a pilot program under the Georgia R3 initiative. The Georgia Hunting Action Plan, which is our strategic document, calls for choosing likely efficient target audiences to go after, and we did this by a series of pilot programs. One of those was Field to Fork that took off, and then one of the other ones that we put a lot of effort into was a college Learn to Hunt program. So there's a lot of reasons to target colleges. Many of you are familiar with them, but in general, you know, they are adults, so they have authority in their own lives, and there's a lot of stuff to suggest that adults may be a very efficient audience when it comes to hunting recruitment. Recreation levels typically peak in college, and activities adopted often stick during that time throughout their life. Additionally, some of the research that's been coming out recently shows that a large portion of college students report an interest in trying hunting. So we targeted this college program at the University of Georgia, following the R3 guidelines. So, you know, evaluation, tracking, making sure that we hit on all of those notes. And it was volunteer operated originally, meaning that we put volunteer appointed positions in there that were students, and it kind of took off and it went really well, but it felt like we were missing a few things and we weren't getting the efficiency that we were looking for, and we were spending a little too much staff time on it. So if you hit the next slide, when we went to expand in Georgia, we decided to rebrand and change a few things. We branded it as Academics Afield, and with the help of the National Shooting Sports Foundation and their Hunting Heritage Trust grant process, we were able to pull on some paid positions. So we had student interns at 3 colleges, and that provided a significant advantage over full-time staff because, one, it's economical to pull an intern on board, provides a great opportunity for a student, and typically in the natural resources field, but we've had students from other fields as well serve as interns. As R3 is a growing field, it kind of gives them insight into that and kind of gets them interested in potentially pursuing that in the future. Those students are on campus. They're part of the cohort that they're recruiting from. So it just made a lot of sense to use them and have a paid position, so we had somebody that we could hold accountable. So those paid positions ended up increasing event frequency, the messaging consistency across events at the various colleges that we were putting these on at. From the evaluation data, we know that it increased the quality of experiences from the participants themselves, because we had before and after data on that. We got a lot more data and better data when it comes to evaluation and tracking, because we had that student on campus that we could hold accountable and make sure all of these evaluations and registration metrics were met. And of course, it improved that community-based mentoring. Go ahead and hit the next slide, Sawyer. So the participant data also showed us that these participants that are coming through this college-focused program are more likely to come from non-hunting backgrounds. They're more likely to fall outside of the current hunting demographics. In fact, 50% of participants were female, and they at least self-report that they're likely to continue hunting and feel well-equipped to do so. We'll know whether that's true or not in the future thanks to tracking data. You can see more information on kind of the background of this in this report that's on NSSF's website, where their Hunting Heritage Trust grant information is. Hit the next slide, Sawyer. So based on this model that we felt had a lot of promise, and the data seemed to suggest that, we decided the next step was to test the scalability of the model. And that involves hitting a lot more college campuses and outside of our state to see if this is something that's truly going to work. So we put in for this modern multi-state conservation grant, and we partnered with Wildlife Federation partners in 5 different states. So we've got Tennessee, Louisiana, Alabama, South Carolina, and North Carolina. The benefit is that all these wildlife federations are established there. Some of them are already working on R3 efforts, but even if they're not, they have great relationships with the state agency and other partners in the state, and they're all affiliates of the National Wildlife Federation, just as we are. So the goals here are to establish programming in 5 new states. So in total, we'll have 8 colleges running for a year, and that'll allow us to test the scalability and refine the model. And then, of course, that will also establish these programs in those states and end up recruiting a bunch of college students into hunting and shooting. The second goal is to take the data that we get from this to develop this comprehensive toolkit. It's going to have standardized curriculum. It's going to have a lot of just pretty much anything you need to kickstart an academics and field program on any campus. So doing that and working with these wildlife federations and of course the state agencies and their existing R3 efforts and other partners in the states, we're hoping to facilitate national expansion of what seems to be a pretty promising model that has been developed so far in Georgia. And we think we're going to end up with a pretty good end product, but time will tell. You can hit the next slide, Sawyer. So if you want more information about any of this, any of the reports that we've put together, or more information on exactly how we're going to implement this project, please reach out to me. My email is right there, charles@gwf.org. Or if you have interest in partnering in one of these states, we're partnering with any and all organizations that have an interest in helping us out on one of these campuses. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Charles. So it doesn't necessarily look like we have any questions.
Nothing.
No, you must have done an excellent job.
Maybe so.
Sorry if y'all are hearing feedback. We do have someone, Tori, who ran a similar program for her master's in North Carolina. So that's pretty cool. And it looks like we also have someone who went through that program of Tori's here also. So that's great. Not only bringing people into hunting, but also into the industry. That's really exciting. James has a question. I believe this is James Burnham from Minnesota. He wants to know what sort of potential is there to combine these efforts with the Conservation Leaders for Tomorrow program that's been in place on the university campuses for a while.
So there is definitely potential to cross-pollinate, but there's a big difference between Academics Afield and Conservation Leaders for Tomorrow, and that is that Conservation Leaders for Tomorrow, their intent is not to recruit people into hunting and shooting sports. It's just to educate them on it. We're kind of taking a dual-pronged approach on that. We actually want to create hunters and shooters through this program. So that's kind of the difference there. We're also outside of just natural resources professionals, future natural resources professionals, and existing. We're any college students. We started out with natural resources programs because that was the logical place to go. But now we're on campuses and outside of those programs as well, and providing those opportunities to any and all majors.
Super. Gina Hunt wants to know, are you working with any other states right now?
Just the 5 that I listed. So there's going to be 6 states total with 8 college campuses. We have 3 campuses in Georgia that we'll maintain, and then 1 campus in each additional state that we'll be working on. We hope to expand from there, obviously, but we want to make sure we do this in a controlled manner, really refine the model and focus on the data to build it correctly.
So you've got questions rolling in. I think what we will do is probably take most of these in possibly a breakout room during happy hour tonight. We can see what we still have to go. But I'll give you one more question because I missed a whole bunch in the Ask a Question box, which just updated for me. So sorry about that, everybody. The question is from Angie. She said, how were or are college students recruited? Did you go for a natural resources type of student or target college students in general?
So we already hit that one a little bit. We branched out of the natural resources field in general. That was the logical place to start, and that's where we'll likely start in most states. But if it's okay with you, Kristen, I'm going to hit this last one here about how we anticipate raising funding. This is something that we're really excited about, is working with each of these campuses to identify sustainable funding sources after the first year. So we're covering the funding in the first year, but after that, each campus, and we're going to work with each one to look at the different potential ways to fund these programs into the future. And I think we'll end up with a lot of case studies on examples, hopefully varying examples of how to do that. For example, UGA has just decided to do an endowment to fund this position into perpetuity. Other college campuses are looking into other measures. State agencies might decide to pitch in through PR dollars in the future. So hopefully we get a broad spectrum there, and that way colleges in the future, when they say, hey, we might want to start an academics field program on our campus or some sort of a learn to hunt program, they can look at these examples and look at the different ways that other people have sustainably funded programming.
Awesome. Those are great responses. Thank you. And obviously there's a lot of interest in this project. So hopefully, Charles, you can join us for the happy hour tonight, maybe continue some of this conversation. Great. So next we have Allison Jasper from the Archery Trade Association. And she is going to tell you about ATA's project on leveraging influencers and content marketing to recruit bow hunters. And so I know a few states have started working with influencers already, and some others are maybe interested in trying to do so. I know we've had Jennifer Wisniewski talk a little bit on the R3 community about how Tennessee uses influencers, and that seemed to be of interest. So I think this project is going to be a really cool one for you guys to hear about once we get Allison up. Yeah, Tana, thanks. Tana says, so cool to imagine a sustainable program that continues to thrive within the universities. Absolutely. I myself came from a college university program as a hunter, so that's pretty close to my heart. But I won't take any time from Allison, so Allison, please take it away.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Allison Jasper. I'm the Senior Director of Marketing and Communications for the Archery Trade Association. And I'm here to give you guys a brief rundown about the grant that we are entering in with Meat Eater called Leveraging Influencers and Content Marketing to Recruit Bow Hunters. And so the ultimate goal of this entire grant is to drive traffic local to agencies to increase revenue and generate hunting licenses. So that is by far definitely like our main goal here throughout this grant. And a little bit about how the grant came about is that Meat Eater actually approached Samantha Petter at CAS, and it really wanted to beef up their R3 efforts and understood that where they could make the most bang for their buck and really make the biggest impact is at the state agency level. They understand that all of the folks that are on this call or this virtual meeting are the ones that really make the biggest impact. So they were really interested in working with all of the states, but they understood that they would need a third party to help kind of facilitate all of that. So from there, Sam reached out to Dan Forrester and myself and really got the ATA involved. So that is where we kind of come in and kind of play the project manager role within this grant. And we came up with driving traffic locally to all of the different state agencies to really drive an increase in the bow hunting license sales. So the summary that we are really trying to focus on is growing digital and content marketing with influencers. We're going to be working on creating strategic content covering different areas of bow hunting participation, conservation, hunter ed, things like that. We will be targeting existing bow hunters, but also really hoping to tap into their existing audience of folks that are maybe just like slightly looking to convert, that are right there on the, the edge of the iceberg, and they just really need that added push to actually convert into a licensed bow hunter or hunter in general. Archery Trade Association, so I'm biased. So the influencer marketing is just huge right now. Obviously, digital platforms, social media, it's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. So it was really important for us to capitalize on that. And that's what we're here to do through this grant. And there's a clear opportunity to really make an impact, partner with somebody that is so well known like Meat Eater. I mean, they're a good group of guys. They're a genuine brand, and it's something that I feel like that the ATA and all the different state agencies can really get behind to really focus on the long-term trend of either declining hunting license sales or the fact that they're just remaining flat. So to date, there have not been any bow hunter specific R3 efforts that focused on digital content marketing while utilizing a nationally known influencer like Meat Eater. So we're going to give it a shot. Just some quick statistics for you folks is that 65% of all businesses are growing their actual influencer budget, and because it's so rapidly growing, and 89% of marketers are actually saying that the ROI from influencer marketing is very comparable to, or actually better than, they're seeing better than results than other traditional marketing channels. So influencer marketing is something that is so popular right now. So it was really important for us to give it a go. Time frame, we are working on a really, really tight time frame. We are actually going to be launching with Meat Eater and starting to produce some of these assets to drive folks local to your state agencies this October. So October 1, which is like, gosh, less than 5 weeks away, about 5 weeks away. And so the entire promotional period when you can be seeing Meat Eater assets driving folks local to state agencies to convert license sales is this October 1st, October 1, 2020 through December 31st, 2020. So lots to do in a short period of time. And a few of the different KPIs that we are measuring is, one, the effective the effectiveness of influencer marketing with different state agencies to specifically drive license sales. 2, measuring the quantifiable differences between organic coverage of all 50 states. And then we do have a small pool of 7 test states. So there will be, the 43 organic states that just benefit from generic meat eater ads about just going to your local state agency and purchasing a license. And then we will have 7 test states that have already been identified that will provide a specific call to action link to their direct agency. So we are measuring the difference between organic versus a direct targeted state. And then also identifying optimal placement of ads. So we are going to be measuring various media platforms such as social media, YouTube, banner ads on different websites, and podcast ads. So we'll be measuring those 4 platforms. Number 4 KPI is measuring the overall reach of ads versus how many views it actually takes to convert a consumer to a license sale. So measuring things like somebody in the state of Tennessee or wherever they are, if they are seeing an ad 10 times and then that actually converts to a purchase, to a license sale, we're going to be measuring things like that, the average amount of reach and how many views it takes, because we would all love to live in an ideal world of 1-to-1 conversion rates, but it's just not realistic. And then finally, we are really hoping to measure how many people were able to drive to local state agency pages and actually convert them to that direct page through referral tracking. So where are we now? Right now we are hard at work getting assets squared away and created. So those are targeted to actually be in the first stages of development this week. So I should be seeing some round 1 assets as early as Friday, and then finalizing those throughout early September, and then getting them all to the states so they can actually see them and get their kind of eyes and ears on them to see what they're going to be looking like. So those are all things that we are getting scheduled, and then actually getting specific dates from Meat Eater on when we can expect to see all of the assets actually put into action. And all states should have received some emails from me, but where you can expect to hear from me next is early next week with some UTM tracking information from the Meat Eater guys directly. And then also Meat Eater is also going to be working on a custom landing page that all states can use that will have some content on there as well. So we're hoping to make it as easy as possible on all of the states in that referral process, but that's kind of where we're at right now. I will turn it over to questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Allison. So you did get a couple questions. The first one I think you already answered, which is how are you measuring ROI on the influencer marketing? So you did talk about number of views and clicks and that transitioning into license purchases. Is that correct?
Yes.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The next question is, how are you getting around YouTube's new restrictions on promoting hunting licenses? So this has come up a couple of times, and I don't know if you guys have dealt with this yet, but do you have a plan for that?
So those are things that we're actively talking with Meat Eater on. And so they have we'll really be focusing on more of the conservation angle specifically through YouTube, and then just doing more of a softer push of just checking out your local state agency and the guidelines around that. But it would still be getting folks to the state agency page. So we would still consider that a positive conversion rate, but that's specific for YouTube only.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here and sharing all those things with us, and we will look forward to seeing the results pretty soon.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So rolling right along, next up, we have Mandy Harling and Steve Hoy from NWTF, National Wild Turkey Federation. And they're going to be talking about their project having to do with a national ad campaign to support hunting and target shooting around the nation. Hi, Mandy.
Hey.
Take it away.
Hi, is Steve here too?
I'm not sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Steve.
Oh, great. I just didn't see my picture up there. Okay, well, great. Well, there's my picture. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Steve Hoy, and I'm the Director of Strategy with The Truth. The Truth is a lifestyle branding agency. We're a small group of people with a very large portfolio, and we have partnered with NWTF to help NWTF work with their brand. And I think I'm going to be presenting here today, but I'm co-presenting with Mandy Harling, who is the National Director of the Hunting Heritage Programs at NWTF. I have a feeling a lot of people in the audience are probably very familiar with Mandy and the work that she does and familiar with NWTF. Maybe a little less familiar with The Truth. Like I mentioned, we're a lifestyle branding agency. And we have a very large portfolio of a lot of national brands that you would definitely recognize. But we also, our three founders, Mr. Bill Fisher, Mr. Steve Uline, and Mr. Rick Mioli, are all very passionate outdoorsmen. And so we actually have a very soft spot for conservation and hunting as well. All of them are fairly accomplished in both those areas. And so whenever NWTF asked us to help them with their brand, particularly with the context that their brand is trying to prepare for the next step. NWTF understands that they've been very successful with their mission. They've got a lot of resources, especially in their volunteer base. And now that the turkey is in pretty good shape, certainly we're not calling it mission accomplished. That's not anything we're ever going to abandon. But it's a matter of how do we think about attracting people from outside the traditional areas and getting them interested as well. Can we go to the next slide, please? Oh, well, we skipped two. It's okay, just leave it right there. So I wanted to thank everybody first. We normally wait until the end to thank our audience, but in this case, I know there's a lot of people on the advisory board who are responsible for helping us to get the grant for 2020 to work on our proposal. This is the first government grant that I've been working on. Certainly Mandy is more familiar, and we're very, very grateful. This is actually a really big endeavor. It's very weighty and it's very large scale, and so we're recommending breaking it up into a couple of pieces. But overall, the project, we refer to it as a national ad campaign, and it's to support, of course, to promote support for and participation in hunting and shooting. And when we say national ad campaign, think of this as any large commercial or for-profit, maybe even some nonprofit type organizations where it's got a visual language, and it's got taglines that and things that you remember, things that in the industry we call sticky. And I think that'll make a little more sense here in a minute. So certainly R3 has had marketing endeavors in the past. We're talking about something here that is much larger scale to benefit all 50 states. Next slide, please. So this project actually was established based on a couple of insights. In 2019, NWTF has reapplied the research that Dr. MANFREDO and his colleagues have originated out of Colorado State University and also Ohio State University. We applied that to our membership. If you're not familiar with that well-regarded research, it basically breaks up the attitudinal ideas that all Americans have about wildlife and segments them into different groups. In order to understand who we have now in our membership and understand who is the outside non-members that we want to try to be attractive to, we ran that research exactly as it was published through our membership. And next slide, please. And what we uncovered were two really pretty interesting insights. The first one is probably not going to surprise you, and I'm going to imagine it's something that many of the organizations out there are also going to experience if they were to do this. And that is that the predominant attitude regarding wildlife of NWTF membership is very different from those of non-members. And that's pretty consistent no matter which region we're talking about. Again, that's probably not a surprise, and one of the reasons why NWTF has asked The Truth to come in and help them with their branding. The second piece, however, is, at first it may strike you as surprising, but if you're familiar with the larger research, it actually could be seen as a really tremendous opportunity. Though the predominant attitudes are different. There are two shared areas of values that are really ripe. And the first is that almost everyone agrees that we should strive for a world with an abundance of wildlife. And almost everyone agrees, certainly on the 75 to 80% level, that anyone who would like the opportunity to hunt may have it. Now, of course, at NWTF, if you're familiar with our mission, which is to conserve the wild turkey and preserve hunting heritage, these are two areas that hit right in our wheelhouse. We are morally and legally obligated to both of these things. And so it really got our notice. But we also realize this isn't an NWTF issue, right? This is an all conservation, especially conservation organizations that actively support hunting and shooting, of course, to go with it. This is something that we all are having to deal with. And maybe rather than just do things at just the local level, which I'm really glad to see so many endeavors for in the other presentations, we're looking at a much larger scale. We're looking at the national level. So even though these two insights are really ripe and interesting opportunities, these two things aren't top of mind for most people. Most people aren't regularly thinking about a world full of an abundance of wildlife, or that hunting is an opportunity that everyone should have. It just doesn't hit most people in their daily routine. Can we go to the next slide, please? And this is what great advertising does really, really well. And if you need any examples, I guarantee every single person in the audience will know exactly what I'm talking about with these without giving you the answer, right? To everybody, it's no mystery where M&Ms do or don't melt, right? You don't need to be reminded what Smokey Bear wants you to prevent. Okay, if anybody says good, you know exactly what that is going to be, what's going to be served to you, and you're already feeling warm and nourished. And my favorite, is there any question among anybody what you should ask yourself before you pour your breakfast cereal? And that last one, of course, got milk, was really the basis, being that it was originally started by an NGO. We see that as something of a model to follow. Next slide, please. So you know how to think about M&Ms and you know how to think about soup, but what should you think about hunting and shooting? Now, of course, everybody in this audience already has an opinion, but whenever we speak to ourselves in our own bubble, we're really not helping to gather people from outside our community to bring them in. And of course, all of our NGO organizations that rely on membership in order to continue into the future should really be thinking about this. And so we want to give people words to use. We want to work with those shared values, find the appropriate sticky message that everybody can get on board with, and imagine that several years from now, people still remember, even though we haven't shown that commercial or shown them that advertising in several years, they still remember how to think about hunting and shooting like they do M&Ms or soup or milk or Smokey Bear. Next slide, please. So we've proposed two projects. The first is with our approved 2020 grant, and this would be the messaging research. Now, NWTF has already done some preliminary research on this just to make sure that we've done our due diligence and that we feel that there are some really lucrative areas to play, and we've confirmed that to our satisfaction and included that in our grant proposal. And thank you very much. That was approved, and we're looking forward to starting that at the beginning of September. So basically next week, we've already started reaching out to research partners and starting to establish the baseline for this. The second part would actually be the building of the assets, and we have proposed a 2021 grant for this piece to build off of what we do in 2020 with the messaging research, take the insights from that research and literally build the advertisements. Anybody who has dealt with marketing and advertising will realize that something that is not put here is actually placing the advertisements, actually buying the media and putting them in field. We didn't miss that. We actually think that that is probably a third step, but we didn't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. We can't strategize 3 years in advance necessarily, but between these two projects, we absolutely are looking to create usable research and usable assets that any one of the partners here and those who are not here could use in any of their owned, earned, or bought properties. The hope is that we would probably through a combination of grant, industry, and personal donation, that we would be able to buy national media at a scale that would really be meaningful. That would probably be at the earliest late 2021 or early 2022. So one question that may be on your mind is, well, why would NWTF do this? And I like to say conservation isn't the competition. Though certainly we like to look at each other for inspiration. This is of a scale and of a weight that everybody is going to need to get on board. So these kinds of projects, having been in the advertising world and the branding world for quite a few years, something of this scale with this kind of an audience and these kind of partners that are available, the hard part is getting it going. We just haven't proven anything out yet. So getting it going is the difficult part. Once it gets going and it starts building up the momentum and people start to see the vision and the promise that is there to be built out, people tend to get on board. So the role of NWTF is to see the opportunity, and we have stepped up, made the proposal, and would like to lead to get the organization of the group going. However, and I can't stress this enough, every single organization that is conservation oriented and supports hunting, and all of the state agencies, and even we would love to have industry get involved, every one of you are going to be important to this endeavor. We're going to be contacting many of you very soon to collaborate. That's probably going to be a top-to-top call. I don't know if Becky herself will be making that call. I know she spoke earlier this morning, but it's very likely that she may be. She's putting her full weight of support behind the project. And we really need the support of everybody for something of this scale. If you want to be proactive, please feel free to contact either Mandy or myself. And if we go to the next slide, please. Our contact information is on the screen, so feel free to copy that down or take a screenshot. And if you don't want to wait for a phone call, but you're excited and you want to get involved, please reach out and volunteer. This is pretty exciting stuff, and hopefully within the next 18 to 24 months, we're actually going to be seeing our first R3-oriented national advertising campaign. And hopefully not long after that, people will be able to tell you exactly how to think about hunting and shooting, and recite the tagline as well. So thank you. With that, any questions?
We actually do not have time for questions on this one. Sorry about that. But you guys can catch up with Steve and Mandy. They have left their contact information in the chat box. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact them there. We are going to move right along and try and stay on schedule. So thanks, Mandy and Steve, for being here. We appreciate you. And next we have Jim Curcaruto from the National Shooting Sports Foundation. Jim is going to talk some about partnering between industry and agencies. And Jim, hi, how are you?
Good, good. How are you?
Excellent. Take it away, my man.
All right. So Jim Curcaruto from National Shooting Sports Foundation. We've got 407 people here. So real quick, NSSF is a trade association for the firearms and ammunition industry. We own and operate the SHOT Show, and we are a member-based organization with our members being the manufacturers, the retailers, the ranges, and the industry media. I'm super excited to be here. I'm very thankful for being part of this, and I want to say thanks to the council for not only putting this event on, but really doing a tremendous job over the past few years, elevating R3 to a national level and herding all the cats. And I'm really glad to be one of those cats that's part of this. I believe we're on the cusp of really exploding participation. Also very fortunate to be in the position I'm in right now with National Shooting Sports Foundation as the Director of Research and Market Development. I get to work with both parts of the industry. I get to work with the manufacturers, retailers, ranges, as well as the conservation organizations, state and federal wildlife agencies. And, you know, as the director of research, we conduct a lot of work that identifies what's happening in the marketplace, who's buying firearms, why they're buying them, what are they participating in, how can we get new participants in there. So you might have heard in that first panel, a lot of talk about 5 million new gun owners out there. Well, who comes up with that numbers? NSSF comes up with those numbers by surveying our manufacturers, surveying our retailers and working with the FBI NICS background data to come up with that number. We feed that information to the media so we control the narrative, what's being put out there with the industry. And then we work closely with the manufacturers to act on the data that we're putting out there. And you may have seen very recently, just last week, Smith & Wesson put out a brand new website called Gun Smart. It's a campaign that marketing right to these 5 million people. Brilliant move. It's going to really position them as market leaders with these first-time gun buyers, but they're putting out very short, very informative videos that, you know, here's how to load your firearm, here's the 4 rules of firearm safety, and they're communicating that message to the first-time gun buyers as well as their current customers and helping them bring this new first-timer along as well. So that's what we do on the information side. And a lot of that research that we conduct focuses on things that work with R3. So we do research on recruiting new people, retaining the ones we have, and not only retaining them, but expanding their participation, getting them to cross over into other activities with a firearm. And we do work on reactivating the millions of folks out there that have lapsed. And that's why R3 is so important. And the time that we're in right now is incredibly important because we've had other surges in firearm sales, particularly in 2013. And I think we dropped the ball a little bit by letting a lot of those people lapse out. So we're not going to do that this time around by better communicating, better engaging with them, coming out with these Gun Smart campaigns from our manufacturers. The other side of that, again, as I get to work with the state wildlife agencies and the NGOs and the conservation groups, and I've been doing this for about 10 years. One of the most frustrating things I've seen over those years is that we've got, you know, two parts of the industry, and very rarely are they connecting and working together. Happenstance sometimes here and there, but one of the things that we've done at NSSF to help alleviate that and get the two parts together is we came up with our Partner with a Payer initiative, and you may have heard the panel talk about that earlier. We work with Tom Decker at U.S. Fish and Wildlife and Rick Jacobson at Connecticut DEP, and that Partner with a Payer is really a program that brings the two sides together, gets the manufacturers out in the field so they learn where the excise taxes are going, brings the agencies into manufacturing plants so they can see where that money originates from. So that's one way we're going to, you know, get folks together for sure, but we want to keep that going and bring these sides together to work on, especially R3 efforts, right? One of the biggest pieces of the puzzle that I think has been missing is having the manufacturers and the media help recruit. The agencies and the NGOs have done a tremendous job, but bringing in some reinforcements, I think, is going to really move the needle some more as well. So the, you know, the godsend here is PR modernization. We wouldn't be able to conduct the research that we've conducted. Those 5 projects that you already heard about are part of 25 projects from the 2020 cycle. There's another 15 or 20 projects coming from the 2021 cycle. You're going to look back in a not too distant future and say, this is the spark that lit a barn fire. I mean, we are going to explode participation because of the PR Modernization Act. You heard about the great projects going on. Have to thank John Frampton for all the work that he did to get this off the ground, and Dan Forrester, Archery Trade. I know that the council did a lot of work. Archery Trade did a lot of work. AFWA, not a lot of parts to it, but congratulations, and I'm really proud to be part of that and proud to be a recipient on some of these grants. So the grant I want to really focus on right now is combining state and industry expertise to increase R3 success through marketing, right? We connected people on that R3 on the PR cycle, but now we want to get them together and help market. You know, the industry does a pretty good job of marketing, and the agencies are doing much better job. They're catching up. You know, 10 years ago, they were better at talking to some animals than people, but I think with getting the two sides together and working together, we're going to be able to push a narrative that's similar to what NWTF just talked about. We need these national campaigns. We need the expertise of the marketing industry, of the executives in the marketing side of things, to help build that message and get on the same page as the state agencies. So that's what this grant is going to do. It's going to incorporate some of the elements of our Plus One campaign. And you heard a little bit about the Plus One campaign already, but it's a mentoring project where we work with the manufacturers to try to get them to engage their consumers or bring somebody new with you. We do that through National Shooting Sports Month, which we're in right now. It's going to wrap up here at the end of August, but we're bringing in hundreds of thousands of new people into the shooting sports just by that mentoring aspect of things. You know, the other thing that I think we're going to be able to do is we're going to work with the industry, but we're also partnering with all 4 AFO regions on this grant. So we're going to work with them and really see what they're doing and how we can help each other promote things. So one easy example of that is September 1st, right, is going to be the opener of dove season. A lot of states down south in Connecticut, people, we don't hunt those doves, but September 1st is our early goose season, right? And I'm part of 20 or 30, I'm sure, email newsletters that I get from state agencies and from manufacturers, and never once have I received communication from a manufacturer that says, "Hey Jim, just so you know, as a reminder, September 1st is early goose season there in Connecticut for you. Hey, here's a link to Connecticut DEP's website where you can buy your license. Don't forget to buy your federal duck stamp. Here's an article on some goose hunting tips. And hey, by the way, 10% off this week on our choke tubes." And you can imagine if you're a consumer, you're getting that communication from Remington and from Smith & Wesson and from Winchester Ammunition. And it can be localized by state. Like every state can be done. We just segment out manufacturers' lists. So it's really going to provide a lift. It's going to push traffic to sites. We're going to come up with those marketing and advertising efforts together. I'm very excited about it. So we are also, interested in making this as broad as possible. If you have any questions on it, or if you want to be part of it, feel free to reach out to me. I'm the only Jim at NSSF, but if Sam or somebody can throw up my email address there in the comments, be glad to work with anybody on it. And also, I don't know if we got time for questions or if we want to move on to the heavy hitter and Alex coming up next. Or
Great, thanks, Jim. We don't have any questions in the box, so I'm not going to pause for them. They will have your contact information if anybody comes up with questions, but we're already over time, so I am going to go ahead and introduce Alex. Thanks so much, Jim. I appreciate your time. Okay, so as we said, next will be Alex Baer, the newest COO of the International Hunter Ed Association. We are excited to have him here in his new role, and he is going to be talking with us about Hunters Connect. So I'm sure some of you have heard of that or maybe even seen some of it, but we're going to hear about some of that from Alex now. Alex, take it away.
Yeah, hello, everyone. Thanks for the time today. And Jim, I like to mirror almost all of your sentiments on all of those great thank yous and things coming down the pipe. It's a very exciting time for R3. As we all know, that's why we're on this call, I'm sure. So thanks to the council putting this together. I'm going to not blitz this presentation, but I do want to keep us on track best we can for the day. So the first slide here is really just an intro slide. This is the title of the program, working with our Hunters Connect program that's already existing. And then what we're going to do to amplify that with the Multistate Conservation Grant. So next slide, please. So real quick, the goals of the project. This is, you can also always read this in the literature as this is available. I'm happy to share that with anybody. But we're looking to put together an online database that contains video content for the states to use, that combines pieces that are put together by our partners, NGOs, state agencies themselves, putting these pieces together into one place that's searchable and usable by the agencies. Educational content is the focus of this. So the next part of this is to contract a professional video studio to make videos as close as we can to on demand. So that if you're working for an agency, if you're working in marketing, as an R3 coordinator, hunter education, if you have something you are looking to have created for your needs, let us know. That's the whole point of this. We are going to have a private company, a studio, a professional studio on retainer to make videos that the industry thinks they need. So that can be an expensive endeavor. So that's what we're looking to do with this. The digital communication network is also really important. It's not just enough to make the content and to put it somewhere you can access it, but to be able to discuss that content with each other, share who's using what impact you've seen from the shares you've done, if you're going to be attaching any video content to an email and sending it out to your customers, how was it received, how would you do it differently next time, etc. So we're looking to provide a communication network as well. More details in the future slides here. I'm just going to give you a quick intro here. We're also going to be hoping to meet again that content, the creative needs of the departments. And if there are partners of ours in the industry who are interested in working with us too, we'll certainly give access to that to you as well. This is not meant to be a closed system. This is meant to be helping everyone interested in working with R3. Next slide, please. So what we currently have, this is already something we've tested some. We have at IHEA a year ago launched a program called Hunters Connect. And if you're not familiar with the system, the idea was that we would use some private money and some partners of ours to test the efficacy of a program that where every week a new video would be created that was tutorial style, short videos, most between 3 and 15 minutes, probably an average of around 8 or 9 minutes per video, that can be found on YouTube as a self-help piece. Right now, I don't know how it is for you, but if my 8-year-old wants to learn how to draw a picture of a moose, he just asks the air around him, and Google brings up a video on YouTube on how to draw a moose. So what if you want to learn about how to properly cook a steak, or how to field dress a deer, or the safety required around harnessing into a tree stand? It shouldn't be that you have to call somebody or go to another class or do anything else. Self-help's a really big deal right now, and to provide those resources is one of the things that we're trying to do with this. So we've created a YouTube channel where the content lives, over 70 videos in the last year. Feel free to check that out. It's just Hunters Connect on YouTube. We also have a website designated for that, links in through our IHEA website. But the content that we have up to this point is a bit scattered. Every week it seems like it's a little different. The last 4 videos, we've had how to cook the perfect steak, mentoring new hunters, a small video on recruitment and reactivation with some guests looking to get more involved in hunting, basics of spot and stalk hunting, preparing for the hunt with e-scouting and proper packing for your trip, clothing needs. They're a bit all over, right? Trying to figure out what might be the best. So to give this project more focus, we're looking for input from states and partners. So the current funding, I have to make a shout out here real quick. We've had Yeti and Onyx and Loophole and RMEF and ALPS having funded this for the last year. Now being funded by a multi-state conservation grant, we're looking at license-free content, customizable videos that we can put logos on the states if they have needs specifically. Just reach out and tell us what it is you're looking for. We already have a contract in place with Randy Newberg and On Your Adventures Studio. If you're not familiar, Randy is a professional hunter and an incredible enthusiast and partner for our industry, and dedicated to creating some educational resources for us. So this, for the next 12 months, allows the funding to be there for another video per week, if not more, including some extra funding for some side series and some additional content to be created as needed. So please go to the next slide. So let's show you what this is going to do entirely, right? I mentioned some of those pieces, but the extra funding is allowing us to invest into some new tech. Obviously, tech is a big deal these days. If we know each other, you know I come from an OnX background, so I have a special place in my heart for technology. But In this case, we're able to invest in a company called Binder, which I know the council also has some dealings with. I'm sure you'll hear more about that in the coming days. There is they do a digital asset management system that allows for searchable content. And what that does is it allows you to quickly find what you're looking for in a platform that we can have categorized by species or by state or by even demographic of the people in the video themselves. We're looking at different ways to break that apart right now, but there's a lot of opportunity there. We're also going to introduce Slack. If you're familiar with Slack, you probably like it, or you at least have seen some people that you know who do enjoy this. It's a really well established platform that a lot of private companies use to communicate better across departments and remote offices. So in our industry, the ability to communicate between departments, regions, on a national scale, open that communication channel is now going to be free, included in this grant. Also leaning on a bit of the nonprofit status that IHEA has to get even better pricing for extra licenses, which we will cover. And the idea then is to launch with marketing departments, R3 coordinators, and hunter education administrators to connect those individuals to discuss the content within this system. We want to hear how you're using it, we want to hear what you need, and let's get success stories as well as challenges. Let's go through all of it. So let's please let us know if you're interested in this program so we can set you up with those accounts over the next couple of months. Obviously, I've put the AFWA logo into this. It's a big deal that they are pretty much sponsoring this now with this grant, because the content then will become license free and available to anyone who is interested in using this. Next slide, please. Next step slide. We all need one of these, right? So how to get started. Easy enough. Reach out. Let us know. Again, my name is Alex Bear. Information's here. I'm sure that'll be posted in the Slack and or in the channel here on the side. Email is easy to get me at. Reach out to us. Let us know what you're looking for. Start thinking about what content you'd like to see. Don't think about your budget being a problem. Let us know what it is. Let us work through that for you with this grant. We also have some individual investment from IHA into this program, and partners still willing to put some cash into this too, as long as they don't want their logo and everything, right? So we're going to hopefully make this thing what it needs to be for everybody. So think of this project as a professional video studio on retainer for the industry. If you need a video, if you need something that helps explain something to your customers, let us know. We'll keep it short. We'll keep it professional, and it's not going to be full of the existing demographic. We're looking for narrated by young individuals, women, African Americans, Hispanic. We have a good mixture in here. We're looking for additional people to help. So if you know anyone who would also like to be a narrator or a host of a Hunters Connect video, or any other video that you've already created that you want to have in this system, reach out. Have some communication. That's why we're all in this forum, to see how we can work together on these things. Please hear that message and let's do it. So thank you, everyone. If you have any questions, I'll take those whenever it's available, and I will be in the happy hour later as well. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you, Alex. We do not have time for questions as our next session starts in less than 1 minute. So I put Alex's email in the chat. Feel free to use that. Reach out if you want. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We hope you enjoyed this rundown of some of the great projects that are going to be going on with our new PR Mod money. So awesome. We're super excited. We hope you are too. Thank you. And we will move into the next session with NBC's John Kenny talking about marketing to a wide variety of audiences.